Okay, so before we get started on anything, just my one advice is don't take anything you see in the Discord seriously. We are this is like extremely online. Everyone's a
I
shit
learned that. Yeah,
poster. They never leave their houses,
makes sense.
and don't read the chat either. Those are the two key advice points I can give you.
All right,
Um,
sounds good.
to ensure your sanity and so that you don't get like frazzled or anything like that. Because
I'll
these
try.
people are savages.
Cool, sounds good.
Okay, so let's just briefly talk about what you do and stuff, so
Sure,
that everybody knows.
sure. Yeah. Well, I'm right now. I'm the vice chair for the California High School Democrats. I'm a high school senior. Before that, I interned for my state assembly member in the district office.
You're a high
I
school senior?
Yes, I am a senior. Yeah.
What the fuck? Holy shit, dude. Okay, never
I
mind.
know.
These people are all your age in my Discord. Okay, so you know
All right.
then
So
that
yeah, no, I deal with this sort of stuff on a regular basis.
yeah, you got on real quick to
He
Discord,
looks
so
40. I love. Someone just said he looks 40, which I find really funny because I was flying home from DC once, and the TSA pulled me aside and they thought I was lying about my age, and they said I was in my mid 40s, which is crazy.
it's because you're
Um,
brown. Also, wait.
yeah, well, exactly.
Wait, this is no meme. I thought like I saw high school Democrats, and I thought you were a teacher. Like I'm not even
No,
kidding. I did not realize.
yeah,
Okay, I did not realize you were a high school senior. Holy fuck. Okay.
no, yeah, no, yeah. Can't say I enjoy being in high school, but that's, I mean, it sucks.
If you're a
Being
cop, if
in
you're
high
like,
school.
if this is like a 21 Jump Street style situation, and you're a cop, you have to tell me.
No, 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 it's really not.
Like legally, you have to. Okay.
Yeah, no, I'm being totally honest and completely frank about this, and I swear I'm not a troll.
All right.
But yeah, so I'm a high school student. I've been knocking on doors and doing grunt work on campaigns for 7 or 8 years now, I guess.
So
Yeah,
since you were 11 years old,
10 to 11. Yeah, that's when I really got involved.
holy crap, dude! What the hell?
Yeah.
Okay.
For
Cool.
and so yeah, a lot of people have been calling me out on Twitter and saying this guy worked on Eric Swalwell's campaign against Pete Stark. It was because of the fact that you know um, Stark was obviously like he's a pretty good congressman for when he was still at his prime. I think at the time Swalwell wasn't really running on anything ideological. It was mostly just a generational thing. And I think Pete Buttigieg and his candidacy has taught us to be wary of who runs on generational change because we all know what that really means now. And I like Swalwell. I think he's a good dude. I'm friends with him still. Um,
I have ex coworker of mine used to do his social media.
nice, nice,
Hannah
yeah. But
Cranston.
oh, yeah, I know Hannah. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Um.
But yeah,
Okay.
I mean,
So you already have political experience. You worked on campaigns. Okay. All right. I'm turning him up. I'm turning him up. All right. So talk to me. So 2016. Who did you like more? Hillary Clinton? Were you an O'Malley head, or did you
I
like Bernie?
So in the beginning, I was kind of interested in Chafee, of all people. I liked the fact that he was, you know, uh, an anti-war voice in the primary. He voted against the Iraq War. Yeah, I know, Lincoln Chafee, feel the chafe. Yeah, um,
You were
and
13 years old, and you
I
were a
was.
fan of Chafee.
Not necessarily a fan. I was sort of just kind of mildly
Okay,
intrigued
you know why I'm asking you this
inside.
question. You're smart enough to already know why I'm asking. Why don't you like Bernie? Why didn't you like Bernie in uh
I liked what Bernie said about the influence of corporations in America. I think that's really important stuff, and what he says is good, and this is that's it's fine. But I mean, I just think like we're always going to be inconsistent, politically. Like things are going to change, and I just think that when we're gonna, if we're gonna have that kind of conversation, who's I think there's a lot of issues in terms of who owns up to inconsistency and who doesn't. And I think that in particular
You
with
don't
the Sanders
love the spirit of
campaign,
justice. You love your
more
father,
so
the
this time around,
devil.
there's been
Parasite 1.
this weird
Capitalism
sort
is dead.
of double-edged sword of having been around forever, where he was around 20 years ago, he was saying the right things then, but if he said something wrong, it was 20 years ago. And I think that like there's just this weird um, personification of things, or perception of things. Sorry, I'm tired. It's been a long day.
Okay, well, let
Perception
me
of
ask you a
things.
question. Okay,
Yeah,
okay, okay. Serious question.
sure, sure.
But like, if you look at the overwhelming majority of legislative actions taken or decisions made or speeches delivered across Bernie
Sure.
Sanders' entire career, both as mayor and in Congress,
Mhm.
there is definitely a consistent message there. There is definitely some. I mean, he does have moral conviction. He does have certain opinions that he has stayed consistent on. There
Yeah.
are definitely differences in his. I mean, immigration being like the first thing that he's changed his mind on, probably a little bit.
Yeah.
And but outside of that, he is probably the most consistent politician that I've ever encountered in all of my years of covering politics. So yeah, people have the capacity to change. I don't really attack Elizabeth Warren for being like a Republican or whatever, even
Right.
though it is kind of suspicious that like deep into her 30s she was like still delivering speeches at the Federalist Society in her 40s,
Right.
and
Yes.
that
Yes.
stuff is really that stuff is not great for sure. But I do
Yeah.
think
Yeah.
that she has a long career in Congress advocating for consumer protections, attacking
Yes.
Wall Street, and
Yes.
generally being a pain in the ass of the Democratic Party, which I
Yeah.
personally like. So I like Elizabeth Warren. I will tell you
Yeah.
this ahead of time, like
Yeah.
before we even get started. People call me a lib for it. They get mad at me in my chat for it. But having
Yeah.
said that, she is a disastrous campaigner. I mean, I
Yeah.
can't speak for Massachusetts, but like so far, everything I've seen from Elizabeth Warren on the campaign trail has been really bad, partially because I think she has an over-reliance on her consultants that are just really bad, and from like Kamala Harris campaigns and from the Kamala Harris campaign and from the Hillary Clinton campaign. Well, maybe not so much from Hillary Clinton staffers, but I guess everyone is a Hillary Clinton staffer if you've worked in the Democratic Party at some point. So,
Yeah.
but I think she listens to them too much, and I think that she also she needed to differentiate herself with the signature policy of Medicare for all from Bernie Sanders. Totally understand that it's a
Yeah.
political move to do so. Otherwise, they're basically advocating for Bernie Sanders' signature legislation, right? But she, I think, pulled the trigger too soon and pulled the trigger incorrectly with her implementation of Medicare for all, and the 8-year transition being across two presidential campaigns. Like that's crazy. And like I mean, two midterms and one presidential campaign is crazy for like an all-encompassing, comprehensive, transformational healthcare reform like that.
Yeah. Well, I mean, so I'm going to be totally blunt with you. I've never looked at healthcare as an important issue. I mean, obviously, I'm not going to say that it's because it is, and I don't want to go into too many details, but my family has its healthcare issues, and we do think that getting single payer done is important. But at the same time, I think there's a bigger public health issue at stake, and that's the and in terms of
What do
and
you?
so yeah, yeah. I think that in terms of plans, um, I think that there's holes and uh, big gaping flaws almost, that Bernie's plan has in terms of the implementation, right? Like he says he wants to decommission ports. I think that's the, I mean, are we not shipping other things besides oil, right? There's a lot of things there that just as one. The other part of it is for me, I think that we do. Uh, for me, I think between Warren and Sanders, I think that the idea that staffing is policy, I think we've learned that lesson pretty well over the last 3 years or so that Donald Trump's been president. We've seen what a bad staff can do and a good staff can do, and I mean, for me, I think my hesitation with Bernie wraps around. Obviously, I have my own issues with him. A politician. I think that he's been inconsistent. I think that there are personal issues as far as ethics go that both Bernie and Warren have, and I'm not going to run away from either one of those. But staffing is policy, and the kinds of staff that Bernie surrounds himself with.
So
There's
like
only
who? Like what?
David Serrata, Nina Turner. I mean,
Wait, why don't
I
you
don't
like
want
him?
Press Secretary David Serrata. I don't want Press Secretary David Serrata because David Serrata is saying when the public option got killed by Joe Lieberman in '09
You don't want
that
to
we
kill
should
next
start from
advantage?
scratch and
You're
rewrite the whole
racist.
healthcare bill,
This is
even though we had
literally
very little political
18-year-old
capital
Pete
to spare.
Buttigieg.
And Nina Turner, I mean, obviously, look, for all intents and purposes, I am a committed Democrat. I
You
know that
don't
there are
love
a
the
lot of
spirit
people
of
that
justice.
think that pissing on the Democratic Party is fun. It's really easy to do. It's really convenient to do. And God knows I've done my fair share of it over the last few weeks with the whole Iowa mess. But I do right now in the current system that we've got, the best way for us to move forward is in the short term being Democrats and being committed and being in it for the long haul. And Nina Turner simply has not demonstrated that ability to me, having not voted for the Democratic nominee in 2016. And I'm not going to say that threw the election to Donald Trump because we all know that that's not what threw the election to Donald Trump. But
Mm-hmm.
the more votes we could have had, the better.
So you don't like Nina Turner because she didn't vote for Hillary Clinton? Is
Among other reasons.
and
Among other reasons.
Okay, what are the other reasons? Because I don't think that that's disqualifying. I'm gonna be honest with you. I mean, I
Sure.
voted for Hillary Clinton in 2016. I urged everyone else to vote for Hillary
Sure.
Clinton in 2016,
Sure.
but I also understand the reality that 100 million people don't vote in this country, partially a consequence of the Electoral College, but also because I think people very reasonably don't believe that neither party represents their best interest, especially if
Yeah.
they're from a marginalized background, especially if they're poor or black
Yeah.
or
Yeah.
come from these communities.
Right.
So I get why they feel like neither party represents their interest and don't
As
want
do
to
I.
vote. And if Hillary
As do
Clinton
I.
was an incredible campaigner and a great president or a great presidential candidate, I'm fairly certain that the 12% of Bernie Sanders voters who did not vote for Hillary Clinton would not make a dent in her, in her victory. Would not have been a significant hurdle, especially considering in 2008 when we had Barack Obama, and I'm sure you heard this already a million
Mm-hmm.
times, but in 2008, a larger percentage of Hillary Clinton fans voted for John McCain. Then there are also the two-time Barack Obama voters that voted for Donald Trump. I mean, when you look
Right.
at previous voting patterns, Bernie Sanders supporters voting for Hillary Clinton actually is probably a higher percentage than most other political campaigns. But I think that we talk about it more frequently because it's an easy way to heighten that Bernie Sanders is not a Democrat narrative and he's not uniting the party, that kind of thing. Does that
Yeah,
make
no,
sense?
yeah, no, completely. I don't disagree with what you said. I don't think that. I know you said that you don't find Nina Turner not voting for the Democratic nominee disqualifying. But for me, it just comes down to, and no matter who our nominee is this time around, they're not going to cage children. They're going to sign whatever bills get thrown in front of them by a Democratic Congress and God willing, a Democratic. And I don't think that it's fair to. I think that it's important that we show a unified force, especially if you are in as high profile a position as you are. Being a state senator, a statewide candidate, and having the kind of credibility that you do. I understand the hesitation and behind voting for Hillary Clinton. Like I totally do, and I mean, I don't think there was any Democrat that I would have a hard time finding someone who didn't at least once hold their nose throughout the primary process and throughout the general election when looking at what Hillary was doing, or rather wasn't doing. Um, but at the same time, I think even then, it just comes down to the bar is not that high. It's just a matter of not caging children. It's a matter of not, it's a matter of just signing the basic bare minimum. And sure, the bare minimum is not ideal, like not for a single second. And it's like, it's the equivalent of passing kindergarten. But at the same time, I just don't think that electing.
What if someone, just like you said, you don't care about healthcare as much, it's not your top priority. What if, let's say, someone's top priority is stabilization in the Middle East? Would you say that?
You there? I can't. You're breaking up a little bit. Could you
Wait, I
repeat?
am sorry. I
Top
said, what
priority is
if
what?
you said, you know how you said healthcare is not your top priority, right?
Yeah.
What if someone's top priority was ending the destabilization efforts of the United States in the Middle East? Like, what if that was someone's top priority, and they thought that Hillary
Mhm.
Clinton would not be a viable candidate for that, and they didn't think Trump would be a viable candidate for that either, so they just refused to, vote for someone. Or the other question I was gonna actually ask you, as far as Elizabeth Warren's staffers goes, because you said Nina Turner disqualifying because she didn't vote for Hillary Clinton. Would you say that if someone has hired staffers that are pro-war advocates in designing their foreign policy, would you say that that's damaging, maybe disqualifying
Pro
even,
what?
especially
Sorry.
if they were Republicans too?
Pro what? Sorry, you broke up there for a second.
I said if a particular presidential
Right.
candidate were to hire staffers to design their foreign policy, right? Amongst Republicans, bring in Republicans to design their foreign policy. Would you say that that would be disqualifying as well? If Nina Turner not voting for Hillary Clinton is disqualifying, I would assume that having literal Republicans and literal warmongers in your campaign staff would be pretty disqualifying too, right?
Well, I mean, it depends, right? I'm not going to write the entire party off. I don't. I do like to think that there is still some hope within the Republican Party. I mean, obviously, it's. And I'm not naive. Like I know that there are
Wait, but not voting for
general.
Hillary Clinton, even though you're a Democrat, is bad. But being a literal Republican is not disqualifying. What?
I don't think I don't it might not be, right? There are plenty of Republicans, especially, I mean, being from probably one of the more conservative parts of the Bay Area, I deal with a lot of folks that are registered Republicans but haven't voted for a Republican since like
No,
the
I mean like
80s,
literal
right?
Republicans, like actual Republicans,
In ideology
in
or
actual Republicans that are a part of the military-industrial complex who
Hmm.
are designing foreign policy for particular campaigns. Like,
Well, um, I mean, obviously, I do think that it's concerning, and God, I'm gonna sound like someone from the Concerned Caucus.
mm-hmm.
God, I'm sounding like Susan Collins at this point. It is definitely it raises red flags. Um, is it outright disqualifying? It depends on what the specific matter is, right? I mean,
Yeah, no, I'm just trying to
it,
understand where you're
right.
I'm just trying to understand what like what your bounds of reason are, like how you are like how you're arriving at your conclusions that like not voting for Hillary Clinton while being like a lifelong Democrat is
Well, it's not.
disqualifying, but
It's
like being
it's
a
not
literal
just.
Republican who's worked with like
It's
Republican cabinets, or being
right.
a being a
Well,
like
it's not just voting for, or not just not voting for Hillary Clinton, right? I mean, it's also the fact that, I mean, the way she ran our revolution. I don't really. I mean, I don't particularly believe that it was the right way to go. The way she ran it was not. not well done.
Do you want to elaborate on that a little bit?
Yeah, I mean, based off of what I've read and what I've seen, our revolution when she was running it was the common phrase I think was in disarray, which is what the media loves to describe any Democrat as. And I think there was someone that she hired that I think she was on Fox News at one point and was constantly praising the president. What else? I'm trying to remember off the top of my head here. The whole there was a bill that I'm trying to remember what it was. Crap, that's slipping me. I've been out all day. Crap. Uh, this is going to make me look stupid, and everyone's going to probably say in that Discord chat that I've been owned. But and they can say that.
Don't
but
listen to Discord chat.
I'm
You're having a
not
conversation with me. You're not talking to any of them. Don't worry about it.
I know. Just my anxiety acting up. I think. I mean, I'm trying to remember what it was, but all right, this is my Rick Perry moment. Oops.
Okay. Well, we don't have to talk about our revolution. I guess if you don't want to further talk about it, but
I mean, I do. Obviously, I mean, this is an important conversation to have because it's the next president, right? It's someone that we're going to have to decide.
So
it's an
let's
important conversation
get right into it. So the reason
Sure.
why I'm bringing this up for you, the reason why I brought this up is because as much as I like Elizabeth Warren when it comes to her track record in domestic policy, I have significant concerns about her foreign policy, starting with her green military initiative. I know that the American military is a gas guzzling giant, but it's definitely not the most significant concern that I have with the American military. And I think that given her track record, given who has funded her campaigns in the past, considering that she's from Massachusetts, a lot of defense contractors are there. Obviously, they're, you have to appeal to those folks when you're in Massachusetts. Because of that and because of her advisors that she has on board on her campaign, I'm genuinely conflicted about her policy positions when it comes to foreign policy. She has supported Guaido, which I think is disqualifying in and of itself. She has supported the Bolivian right-wing coup that happened recently that's currently killing innocent protesters in Bolivia. And on top of that, we can go specifically into individual people that she's hired, like Robert Ford, senior fellow at the UAE and Saudi-funded Middle East Institute, Obama's ambassador to Syria, like advocating to arm Syria's opposition, or I mean, there's a bunch of people in her there's a bunch of people in her staff that are not very great, and definitely some of the more militant elements of Obama's staff at the time, Obama's foreign policy apparatus at the time.
Yeah, and I will give credit to Bernie for that. I think that Warren is an upgrade over Obama in everything but foreign policy. And I think most candidates are generally an upgrade over Obama. Like even, I'd say, I'd give
not Pete Buttigieg.
Yeah, even honestly, like getting rid of the filibuster, wanting to eliminate the electoral college, still an improvement over Obama, even if it's marginal, in my view.
I don't think
obviously.
Pete Buttigieg wants to get rid of the electoral college anymore. Or I feel like I've heard him go back and forth on it.
Maybe he did backtrack. I don't know.
He has backtracked on a lot of stuff, but we're not talking about Pete.
Of
I don't
course.
think you like Pete.
Yeah.
You like Elizabeth Warren, right?
Oh, of course not. Of course. Well, I mean, my first love is going to be Jay Inslee no matter what, but Liz is my second choice. Yeah.
Okay,
I was an Inslee guy before I was. Yeah, I was an Inslee guy before I was a Warren guy. And that's because I do think that climate needs to be number one. Like, if you look at Obama and the way he conducted his administration, he came in and said, all right, we're going to do healthcare first, and we're going to do stimulus, and then we're going to do cap and trade. By the time he got done with Obamacare and the stimulus, he didn't have enough political capital left for cap and trade. And so climate action never really got done on a domestic level. And so I think that it needs to be priority number one.
I mean, but you're well versed in political history, so
Sure.
you also know that cap and trade was something that John McCain advocated for. So
Yes.
you and I both know that Republicans are going to attack and obstruct no matter what. So
Yes.
that and that I think that because of that, and this kind of ties back into why I like Bernie Sanders, because of that, I say let's not come to the negotiation with concessions beforehand, and let's be as radical as we can with advocating for change. Let's be as radical as we can with our policies. That way, I think if we're going to end up having a negotiation, we will probably arrive at a much better situation in the middle.
Right.
And so that is actually an issue I have with Elizabeth Warren,
Yes.
specifically with some of her means-tested programs, because I am an advocate for universality. I think that means-tested programs are easy pickings for Republicans. If you look at universal programs versus means-tested programs, you know that to be true throughout the history of the United States. Republicans love defunding means-tested programs, and Democrats do too. Just like, for example, a means-tested program, or not a means-tested program, sorry, a universal program that Democrats, for example, tried to cut back on was Social Security benefits, like Barack Obama and Joe Biden almost did in 2012, if you recall.
Right.
But it didn't happen because, well, one, because Republicans are psychos, but two, it didn't happen because there was a lot of backlash because people immediately fought back because everyone likes universal programs, universal social safety nets. So that's another reason why I like Bernie's proposals and prefer them over Elizabeth Warren's.
And I won't disagree. I do think that Bernie has better proposals than Warren. And I know that sounds like a shocking thing to hear. I do think that they're more ambitious. I do think there's a lot more money thrown at things. I do think that there's a lot of things that he's gotten right, and I think that there's a lot of things that he hasn't gotten right. And I think that same thing goes for Elizabeth Warren. I guess ultimately it just comes down to, for me, more so
Aesthetics?
than all the not even that, but in a sense of where do we win, right? I don't doubt that Bernie can't win. I think he can, but where does he win? He's a much more rural friendly candidate. He's from Vermont after all.
Yeah.
And he can win back voters in Michigan, Wisconsin, and Pennsylvania. Great. We won those three states, but there was only one Senate race on that map out of the three states that I just mentioned, Michigan, and we already hold that seat. If you look at the Senate map, where do we need to win? We need to win states with suburban voters, right? Republican suburban voters.
Wait, hold on. Are you saying that suburban voters might get turned off by Bernie Sanders' rhetoric or Bernie Sanders' policies, and then end up voting for Republicans or not voting in general?
Not voting is what I think they're going to do. And I'm not saying that I don't think it's the policies or the rhetoric necessarily that's going to turn them off. Although there is an element of that, I think it's the fact that we can't run away from it. Because Democrats, the one thing that Democrats have time and again proven is that they are totally okay with ditching the guy at the top. It happened with Barack Obama during his presidency, and I worry that we're going to keep doing it again because we are saner and not as much of a cult as the Republicans are. And so I think that for me, they're not going to show up. And like just for example, like Bernie Sanders and Mark Kelly on the same stage, Bernie might want it to happen, but Mark Kelly will run away from him as much as possible, and he's going to wind up losing because he ran away from Bernie. Same thing I think is going to happen with someone like Cal Cunningham or Raphael Warnock or whoever we end up nominating in Iowa. I don't know whether it's going to be Greenfield or Frank. But you know, those candidates are not going to want to campaign with someone like Bernie Sanders. They're going to want to run away from him. And we're going to shoot ourselves in the foot electorally by losing.
Interesting you say this because
that's what I think.
Interesting you say this because well, one, I disagree. I think these are political operatives and they will bend the knee. And I want them to. And I think and that's yet another reason why I like Bernie Sanders, because it is a long time coming for the Democratic Party to finally go back to genuinely advocating for the best interests of the working class. And that in order for that to happen, we need a leader that will have a people-backed movement that will apply pressure in strategic locations and won't be afraid to primary people if necessary. I think that is a good thing. I think part of the reason why part of the reason why the Democratic Party keeps getting owned over and over again by the moral minority in this country is not because of voter ID laws, or it's not because of the Electoral College. Those things certainly are a factor, but it's mostly because both parties don't represent the interests of working class Americans, and the Republicans offer, especially rural area voters, something different. If you're a single issue voter and you care about your guns, the Republican Party's got your back. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
At least they got your guns. And
Right.
if you look to even union workers, they will tell you the same thing, where, Democrats aren't protecting the unions with a few exceptions. Republicans are not protecting the unions with no exception. They are not protecting union rights. But at least one side, I like shooting guns, and one side's going to protect my guns. Now, having said that, I don't think we should compromise on guns or any of the wedge issues that Republicans create.
I would hope so.
But having said that, I think that we need to offer them something rather than an incrementalist, marginal change that isn't going to really have a material impact on their lives. We need to get Americans to vote for something rather than against something. And I think Elizabeth Warren is decent at that. Her messaging is all right. Her track record is good. Her campaigning is kind of doo-doo. But most importantly, I don't think that if she were to become president, she would follow through on a lot of these promises. And I do think that it would be like Barack Obama 2.0.
Yikes. Man, it sucks that someone's comparing Elizabeth Warren to Barack Obama 2.0. It sucks that any of our candidates besides Pete Buttigieg are getting compared, or Joe Biden are getting compared.
Well, first of all, Barack Obama, outside of our political nerd circle, is incredibly popular. So getting compared to Barack Obama is never going to be a negative thing. There's no negative. But in this conversation is certainly negative. Yeah.
Oh, for sure. And that it kind of sucks that we have to compare Elizabeth Warren to Barack Obama in that sense. Considering
she did take a lot of Barack Obama staffers, so
she did. I mean,
so it's not that crazy to say.
There's a ton of folks that work. I mean, I know people that are working for Mike Bloomberg right now. They're I know a guy that is a hardcore Bernie supporter who's applying to work for Bloomberg because he wants the money. In politics, one thing that I found is people are willing to compromise their principles like nothing. And I don't know about you, but personally, I'd be fine with being homeless and having declined a Mike Bloomberg gig. I can't work for someone who is a transphobic pervert.
I don't know about that. I think if you're either going to be homeless or get that iPhone 11 and work with Michael Bloomberg, I hate him and I will not vote for him. I've said this before. Not only will I not vote for Michael Bloomberg, I will also advocate against him. I will advocate against both Trump and Michael Bloomberg and say, I'm out. I'm not voting. I don't think you should vote either. But if you are if you need to make money, you could probably work for Mike Bloomberg. It's fine. Steal some from the rich. It's Robin Hood.
You might think that, but I mean, I don't want to seem complicit in something of that sort. It doesn't sit well with me. But I'm digressing from the point here. I think that what were we talking about again? We were talking about Elizabeth Warren.
We're talking about the differences between Elizabeth Warren and Bernie Sanders. So we covered universality, which nice of you to concede on that. It's honest of you.
Yeah. We're talking about electability now, right?
I guess now we can talk about electability, which I don't think is a good argument for you.
Well, I mean, I'm talking about. My idea of I think electability is a myth, but if that's the best word that I've got, it's the case that I just made. And now it's coming back to me. How we were talking about the whole the idea of giving people a reason to vote for something rather than against, and I think for years and years we've done tons and tons of exactly that. We've given people a reason to vote for something rather than or given people a reason to vote against rather than for, especially with 2012 and 2016. And maybe I'm just a cynic, but I don't think that I don't think that that's going to matter just because people have been by being given a reason to vote for something. I mean, the last time a Democrat ran on running for something, it was hope and change, and we all know what happened there. And so I think that negative partisanship in that sense, I think, has just really changed the game. People are going to be dead set on voting. One polarization has just gotten to that point, I think, which is unfortunate.
Wait, last time someone ran on hope and change, he won.
Yeah, and he ended up being a complete disappointment, which is why I don't think.
Yeah, but wait, hold on. Before we move further than that, though, polarization at the time, back then, was much worse than it is now. Anyone who tells you otherwise is either unaware or definitely obfuscating the truth. The Obama-Hillary Clinton primaries, especially the Obama-Hillary Clinton primaries, like historic levels of hostility against one another. Hillary Clinton literally alluded to the fact that Barack Obama was potentially a Muslim Kenyan. She refused to drop out and even said,
I'm not talking about the primary. I'm talking about the general election. I'm talking about he won the general election, and he ended up being completely disappointed to the American people.
Okay.
Right.
Well, you meant you talked about polarization. That's why I was like,
I'm talking about polarization among the general dialogue. I think the polarization throughout the country, not just within the Democratic, worse over the course of the Obama years and moving forward. I don't think that. I think that we're definitely, this is child's play compared to what went on in 2008. For sure. I think the
media has a stronger. The media picks favorites. Well, they picked favorites back then too, but the media has a stronger interest in manufacturing consent and ensuring that like the messaging is consistent across all legacy publishers now than before.
Which is what I worry with about Bernie too. I think that that's also going to be a bit of an issue, and I think that Bernie has a. I mean, I don't know how much you've read about me, but I had a bit of a moment in the New York Times where I leaked a poll and I got an article out of it, and I said that CNN employs morons. And the reason I said that they employ morons, I mean, even Bernie Sanders has sort of said the same thing, is that, I don't think that the media are the enemy of the people, but I think that they cover things very poorly, and they do a really terrible job of talking about the way things work. And conventional political journalism relies on this both sides model, right? And you know this because you are a journalist, or were. I don't know whether
I'm a commentator. I'm not. I wouldn't say I'm a journalist.
Well, yeah, a commentator, but you've been around the journalism side of things, right? You know what I'm talking about. There's always this both constant. I don't know. There's this desire to capitulate and please the Republican Party because it's so hard to make them look palatable, that they're busting their necks trying to make them look good, to the point where they will do anything in order to slander the Democratic nominee. And the problem is that voters don't understand that sort of stuff.
Hold on, you're breaking up a little bit. Wait, say that last part again.
I said I think that voters don't necessarily understand that the media will go out of their way to make the Republicans look good, and they will say and do anything to the Democratic nominee in order to make that happen. It's what happened to a degree with Hillary. It's what's happening right now to a degree with all of our candidates.
Except for Pete Buttigieg.
No, well, yeah, because he is a Republican, but that's beside the point. He's running in the wrong primary. I guess my main concern here is that I'm a bit concerned about how Bernie's behavior will rub off with members of the press. Right? He calls them out on their bullshit all the time, and that's amazing, right? I mean, total respect for that, but I don't
think he does it enough. I think he's too soft.
Oh yeah, I completely agree. I think that he needs to start being a bit more blunt about what they're doing and what they're doing is wrong. And I think every candidate for president and every Democrat period should start talking about how the media has a conservative, or rather a corporate bias. I don't know if conservative and corporatist align as well. I mean, I think that that's going to rub off a bit poorly with the press, and they're going to go after him with whatever. And I think that that's going to
What could
be
they go after him with that they haven't
what
already in
couldn't
2016?
they go off? I mean, the whole thing about him honeymooning in the sun and the
But they did that already. They ran
socialist
that
stop
and people
whistle.
laughed at it.
They did, and he was well. The people that laughed, the people that won't be laughing are Republicans and independents.
Well, good thing
And who you
Republicans
need in order
don't.
to witness.
Good thing Republicans don't vote for Democrats. They vote for
Then
Republicans.
Well, I think well, yeah, they do, but I think you'd be pleasantly surprised. I mean, you know, I being in the California high school Democrats and being around as long as I have, I go out to these red districts a lot, and we don't ever run into Democrats. Just about every single time I'm knocking on doors, the only people whose doors I'm knocking on are registered Republicans and registered independents.
Wait, do you door knock randomly or do you door knock?
No,
Wait,
no,
I'm
I'm talking
confused.
about Persuasion Universe stuff.
Yeah, wouldn't they? Yeah, wouldn't you be literally exclusively knocking on Republican doors? Like, you know who's a Republican, and that's why you
Yes.
knock on Republican doors. So that's not
Well,
even
yeah.
anecdotal. You're literally knocking on Republican doors
Yes.
on
No,
purpose.
it's not anecdotal, and that's what I'm saying is that not all, and so I think it's just not fair to say that Republicans always vote for Republicans because every single time I've knocked on a Republican door, they've always ended up committing to vote for us. Maybe they're lying; they probably are, but I like to believe that somehow what I said had an impact.
So 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 you do door knocking, you do canvassing, so you know already like what that looks like on the ground, right?
Oh
So
yeah, for sure.
why
for
would
sure.
you why would you go after like Republicans usually that have already made up their minds or at least have like some kind of coherent ideological opposition to things and ideological positions in general instead of the 100 million independents or not independents, 100 million non-voters that don't vote. Not independents, sorry. Like,
Well, some of them are independent, so I don't.
yeah,
I don't like.
independents and some of them are Republicans as well. But like, there's a lot of non-voters out there. There's way more non-voters out there that could be, weaponized or that could be that we could be going after rather than trying to convert people who already have a viewpoint on the world and probably even class interests in defending Republicans, especially if you're door knocking in a rich neighborhood.
For sure. Oh yeah, that happens all the time, and I get this question a lot, and I ask this question a lot to campaigns too, because this is I mean sometimes I do feel like it might be a waste of my time, but there are a lot of districts. I mean, in the last 7 Republican-held seats in California that are congressional seats, you know, those districts you can't just win off of the strength of non-voters alone. It's just not doable, and you don't really have a choice other than
Well, we'll see what happens in CA 25.
Yeah, I mean,
Who knows?
yeah, well,
Maybe
I
you're
mean,
right.
Yeah, I mean, in like for example, the one district that's closest to me that's blood red, Tom McClintock's seat. It's the 4th district. I go up to Rockland fairly often, and I go door knocking there a lot. It's an R+15 seat. There's a lot more independents growing there. A lot of people are re-registering from the Bay Area to Lake Tahoe so that they can vote Democrat in a redder district because they know that their vote won't matter in the Bay Area. So we're making progress, and we're registering new voters, and that's, you know, it's slowly but surely. But in the time being, if we want, we can't just focus on registration, and you know, there aren't as many non-voters that we can rely on in order to win. And maybe, I mean, obviously that's going to be different for every single state, but that's just my general experience being out on the trail is going out there in these kinds of red districts where we've got, you know, candidates that can win. It's not necessarily as easy.
Okay, so we're having this conversation, but we're like we're losing touch of what we were talking about originally, which is
Right.
okay. So So we were talking about Elizabeth Warren, specifically in comparison to Bernie Sanders. You don't think Bernie Sanders has the capacity to like get suburban voters, whereas
Yeah.
Elizabeth Warren does, right? That's what
Yeah.
you're saying.
I think it's the messaging. It's really just the messaging.
So,
I mean,
so why do you
someone-
think? So why do you think she didn't do so well in Iowa then?
because Iowa's not a suburban state.
I mean, sure, but it's a very
a
white
rural
one,
state.
and I think like suburban usually it translates to wealthy and white, right?
Not always. I mean, I'm not white. And this entire suburb, this entire city that I live in Dublin. It's a
Well, yeah,
pretty fairly diverse
But
place.
you're in California.
I am in California. Rural California is non-existent at this point. Like it's just one half of the state. It's honestly, but it's beautiful. It's really nice. You ever been out there? Or?
No.
No? You should.
Okay.
It's really cool.
Wait, hold on. So that's one thing, and then another, and like as far as electability goes, I hate electability. I think electability is stupid.
It's a myth.
Electability is just a way to reinforce whatever candidate, and it's been hammered into the minds of liberals, unfortunately, for far too long. It's one way that media gets to control the narrative and gets to control whoever candidate is like the most viable in their minds. Is an Ouroboros, basically. It's like, oh, this candidate is most electable because he's polling well, and now he's polling well because he's the most electable because we gave him the most coverage.
Right.
So I think it's silly. But even with that mentality, the one candidate who did not get that sort of favorable coverage, who won in Iowa by 6,000 votes, for obviously, especially looking at like what happened with the SDE count, I think is pretty electable, right? Like I just that's the way I see it. I don't know. He's polling significantly ahead of everyone else in New Hampshire. He's doing really well in Nevada as well. And he was, until Tom Steyer came in and started capturing piece of the Joe Biden firewall in South Carolina. He was second in South Carolina.
Yeah. I mean, again, yes, Bernie did win Iowa. And yes, the Iowa Democratic Party is important. It's why we lost as many statewide races. But I don't necessarily think that, I mean, again, I wouldn't say he's the most electable. I think honest to God, I think just about any Democrat is this guy. Sure, he's got a base, but every single candidate in their own right will have a case to make of some sort for why they're electable to some degree, and electable enough to beat Trump. I just think, I mean, why or not why? Where? Sorry, man. Where are we electable? Right? Bernie wins Iowa, great. Bernie wins New Hampshire, cool. Bernie wins Nevada, all right. We were probably going to win it anyway. No Senate races up in any of those. And I mean, it's really going to take a while for us to see. I think this primary is going to go out all the way to super because of the fact that we need to test every candidate's demographic strengths in terms of being able to win in rural, not just rural, now that we know, but suburban and exurban places like Arizona and Georgia and North Carolina, right? That's the way I see it.
Okay. And Elizabeth Warren doesn't win any of these states, so what's up with that?
Well, not for now. We don't know whether she's. I mean, obviously,
she's gambling right now. She took out. She redirected all of her funds in Nevada and all of her funds in Nevada and South Carolina over to New Hampshire to make one last big gamble. Okay, she's running out of fumes, and she's trying to be competitive in New Hampshire. I speculate. I don't think that it's going to work out, or at least looking at the polls, it doesn't seem like it's working out. Amy Klobuchar has passed her in some of the polls. God. So she's probably going to finish third in New Hampshire. And then that'll maybe give her a boost. And she will try to stay in the race for as long as she can. But my thing is, like, if you like Warren because you genuinely like progress, and I don't know what your take is. You said you care about climate change, but you you like Jay Inslee. I like Jay Inslee, but you don't want the like most comprehensive climate change proposal, the candidate that's been backed by all of the like all the significant climate
just
change
because
organizations.
I'm gonna have to stop you there. Just because Sunrise says something doesn't. A lot of folks that have local Sunrise chapters yell climate justice without actually understanding what climate justice means. At least that's my indication of the work that they're doing. A lot of these youth climate activists don't have a fucking clue what's going on. And it's one of the most frustrating things in the world. And that's a different conversation altogether, right? Cloudivism is a whole nother thing, but the climate movement has been corrupted, I think. All climate solutions, in my view, are political. You're never going to get anything done from the activist side of things. At least that's the way I see it. And so from that view, I really don't care what the activist groups say, because a lot of them don't really have a clue what they're talking about.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
And like I said, I do like the climate plan that Bernie's put forward. I do like it. I don't.
Okay, well, you like Bernie's proposal, even if you think Elizabeth Warren's proposal is better, let's say.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I guess you don't like Greenpeace ratings either, considering Bernie's plans have a higher Greenpeace rating. Fine if you don't. Regardless, let's say you like Bernie's proposal, and let's say you like Elizabeth Warren's proposal. Okay.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
So, and you said you like both of them. So explain to me why. Actually, wait. Let me ask you a second question then.
Sure.
If Elizabeth Warren stays in the race, do you think she is eating away? She's trying to chip away still at Bernie's progressive voters, because she is the unity candidate. She is like positioning herself as like a progressive who can bring in the more moderates. Like she is the compromise candidate, right, for Bernie.
Yeah. Do I think that she's splitting the vote? No. I think that everybody's.
Of course, everyone's splitting the vote. But if you are progressive and you genuinely care about, if you are progressive and you want a progressive agenda, you want a progressive climate agenda, and you have Elizabeth Warren on one side and you have Bernie Sanders on the other, two of the most radical and all-encompassing climate proposals out there, and she doesn't seem to, her chances don't look so good, let's say, post New Hampshire. Do you think she should stay in the race, or do you think she should drop out and endorse Bernie Sanders in order to ensure that we have like a strong progressive front and we don't lose out to a rat fuck like Pete Buttigieg?
I'm not going to speak on what I shouldn't do.
No, I want to know what your opinion is. I don't really. I mean, we're having a conversation. I don't think it's like you're a consultant for her campaign or anything.
Right. No. But I mean, do I think that she should drop out and endorse Bernie if the campaign goes south more than it already has? I don't see why not. I can also see at the same time why she wouldn't. Do I think that it's as? I mean, I don't think people vote on ideology. I think people vote on identity more than they do ideology, and I think the stylistics of it are what voters care about. I mean, again, it's anecdotal, so it's
yes and no. For everyone who's saying that's wrong in the chat, no, I think a lot of people do vote on identity, especially in America. In America, people vote on identity because there is no ideology. It's neoliberalism from both parties. It's just one is like a not a Thatcher neoliberalism. One, like the Democratic Party's neoliberalism is like gay neoliberalism, and then the Republican Party's neoliberalism is just like homophobic neoliberalism. Okay, one is just less racist, and that's precisely why people are like, well, I guess I'll vote for a woman, or I guess I'll vote for the candidate that speaks to my background, even if they're not really going to do anything. So it is true in America, unfortunately. People aren't voting for policies.
Yeah. No one ever votes on policy these days, and it's what sucks. I mean, heck, I'm not voting on policy.
Wait,
really? I'm voting for Warren because I think win, and I don't know if Bernie can, right? Ultimately, that's really what it boils down to above all else. I think Bernie has better policy? No, I'd say that it's roughly equivalent on the issues that are most important to me. But for me, I mean, that's really what it boils down to more than anything else. I mean, my point here is
you think Elizabeth Warren can win, but I haven't really understood why you think that. Like, I don't get it.
Suburban voters. I think that Elizabeth Warren can win suburban voters. There's a proven message there that I think has a better shot at winning them over. I don't know that Bernie Sanders' message has the same kind of capability.
Okay.
That's what I'm saying. But I mean, I just want to finish this up. I think I'm not monitoring the chat because it's going to trigger my like nothing. But what I will say is I think that you know there are voters that are. I'm not kidding. There was a guy that I worked with over the summer that had Bernie Sanders as his first choice and Michael fucking Bennett as a second. Like that's just. I mean, it is anecdotal. Take it with a grain of salt. But
no, I know.
again,
Listen. People have psychotic approaches to why they like certain candidates. I know.
Voters are weird.
What?
Well, voters are weird.
Yes, American voters are really stupid. It's fine. That's by design. The system is created so that they're almost impossible to figure out, and that's fine. That's not what we're talking about. I know American voters are really silly and dumb and very difficult to comprehend. Having said that, though, I do think that Bernie's consistent messaging, especially anti-corruption messaging, and just like Elizabeth Warren used that rhetoric a lot and often, and I think it's very successful, it works. People think he's an honest guy. So even from the point of view of identity, he's old, but he's an honest guy, and he's been saying the same exact things over and over again for the past 40 years, and people like that. And they see him as an outsider, and he's a populist, and populism is very effective. So the real problem is the party apparatus that is creating significant hurdles in front of Bernie Sanders, and I think you would admit that. You literally already admitted that when you said moderate Democrats in Senate seats are not going to want to stand side by side with Bernie Sanders. I disagree. I think liberals are perpetually cowardice. I mean, they're perpetually cowardly, and that's the most consistent part of their ideology. That's overall incomprehensible. Mm-hmm. And because of that, they will bend the knee to a more radical guy who has moral clarity. So, yes, I do think that those people who want to maintain their power, and that's all they care about, these freaks, that's all they fucking care about is power, will do everything they can and become radical leftists if need be. I do believe that, especially if the Bernie gamble pays out, especially if we can show to the rest of the country that we have the people, like Jesse Jackson said. They might have the money, but we have the people. And ultimately, that's who's out there voting. So that's the Bernie agenda, and that's the Bernie movement, and that's why I believe in him. And I do think that these suburban voters who shit their pants over Donald Trump, who is, just more openly racist than every other Republican, but still pretty much the same kind of Republican in regards to like corporate interests, like benefiting corporate interests, endless war, that sort of stuff, and deregulating industries. They are not going to vote for. They're not going to abstain from voting. They are reliable voters. They're an incredibly reliable voting bloc, and they're not going to. They're not going to not vote out of fear that Bernie Sanders is going to tax them or something.
Well, so here's what I would say to that, right? What I would say is, I think that if you look at what happened with Barack Obama, right? He was, I can't believe we're saying this, but by the Democratic Party standards and by the circumstances standards, he was more liberal than a lot of folks running in red territory, right? And a lot of folks ran away from him, and they ended up crashing and burning miserably.
Dude, it was terrible when he got a super majority in
God. And he totally blew it, right? And
he blew it and that's why I like Bernie. But like we're talking about electability. If we're talking about elections, and if we're talking about like winning elections and potentially winning down ballot, Bernie Sanders is good. What you're saying is people are not going to want to work with him, which I agree is definitely going to be a significant hurdle. I think that you're overestimating the courage that these cowardly Democrats are going to have, especially these centrist Democrats are going to have. They had it for Barack Obama. I don't see why they wouldn't.
Bernie
No,
Sanders.
they didn't have it for Barack Obama. Barack Obama wasn't ideologically a progressive. Barack Obama just wanted to win. He just wanted to be president. That isn't. If Barack Obama was ideologically progressive, he wouldn't have built the what was it called? The coalition of like the greatest minds or whatever. He wouldn't have filled up his cabinet with Goldman Sachs executives. He wouldn't have elevated Rahm Emanuel to a position of power.
Yeah. Well, no, I don't disagree with any of what you just said.
Yeah, but that's because Barack Obama was personally not real. He wasn't a real progressive. He just adopted the aesthetics of progress to win.
Well, exactly. But by the standards of that time period, he still was. And by the standards of what was going on in the mainstream of American politics at that point, for voters, he was presented as a lot more liberal than he really was because he presented himself that way.
Yeah, and he won, and he was successful on that.
But how many people ran away from that message? So many, countless. Many people ended up. Yes, I mean.
Do you mean during the election, or do you mean post-election?
Yes, during the election. No, what? I'm talking both. I'm talking during midterm years, during the presidential cycle. Right? I mean, look at Rick Boucher or Bobby Bright, right? Like those people ran away from the president. One of them, Bobby Bright, I think it was, said he didn't even vote for Obama. He voted for McCain, or Parker Griffith, or one of the other Alabama randos. But that's the kind of, they had that courage to walk away from Barack Obama during election year. Someone like Mark Pryor walked away from Barack Obama during 2014. Someone like what's her name? The woman from Kentucky, Allison Lonergan Grimes, the one who ran against Mitch McConnell in 2014. She ran away from Obama. Natalie Tennant ran away from Obama. All of these people ran away from Obama. Why won't they do that for Bernie Sanders?
I mean, it doesn't matter if Barack Obama was like Bernie Sanders. If he kept Obama for America, for example, if he kept organizing for America and weaponized his the people-backed part of his movement, his grassroots organization, and genuinely was interested in advocating for the public option and progressive change in this country and not bailing out the banks without repercussions and closing Guantanamo Bay and ending the endless wars and any number of things that he actually advocated for in the campaign trail and did everything in his power instead of doing the exact opposite once he was president, we would be looking at a drastically different America. So, I mean, when Obama first got elected, people thought Republicans, they're done. Like, people thought this was the end of the Republican Party, that there will never be another Republican presidency for 100 years, people were claiming. And that didn't happen. You know why? Because Obama conceded immediately to the Republicans. He also brought in actual conservatives and literal Republicans into his cabinet. And not only that, but these even with all of these concessions, people still wanted to run away from him. So it doesn't matter. Like, it literally doesn't matter what you do. As long as if you stay moderate, if you go moderate, you fucking lose. Like, a lot of these centrists are gonna run away regardless. So let them run. I say, be progressive, both in your campaigning and also be progressive and advocate for and try to push through your actual progressive change once you're in office. That is literally the most significant difference between Elizabeth Warren and Bernie Sanders. Not the foreign policy stuff. That is very different, and I know, and I like Bernie Sanders for that separately. Medicare for all, totally important. Obviously, most important issue for someone like myself, I think. But the most significant difference between Bernie Sanders and any other presidential candidate is that he talks about the vision, the how. He routinely describes how we will secure legislative victories. And he's right. There's no other way to do it outside of applying pressure at every step of the way with people.
Applying pressure in what sense?
Going to town halls, direct action, organizing, that kind of pressure. The kind of pressure that you saw during the Obamacare repeal and replacement battle in Congress when Trump became president. That kind of pressure times 10, because this time you'll be fighting for something rather than against something with someone who is utilizing the bully pulpit utilizing the bully pulpit effectively, kind of like Donald Trump does, actually, as a matter of fact. Donald Trump does utilize the bully pulpit very effectively. I think Bernie Sanders could do the same thing, but on the left, hopefully for progressive change. So That's why I like Bernie Sanders, because he is not only the commander-in-chief, but the organizer-in-chief. And that is what is necessary even for modest, moderate social democratic reforms.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So I mean, my response to that would be, I mean, do we really think that Mitch McConnell's going to hold a town?
No. It doesn't matter. Well,
Right.
don't worry. Oh, he
And so
doesn't need to.
somehow
He doesn't need to
showing
hold
up-
a town
showing
hall.
Up at his showing up at his DC office is going to make him change, even if it's a ton of
No.
people.
This isn't about genuine. This isn't about genuinely changing Mitch McConnell's mind. I think
then whose mind are we going to change from the Republican Party? Nobody.
we don't need to change Mitch. Well, first of all, how is Elizabeth Warren going to change Mitch McConnell's mind? Like,
not going to. She's
no
gonna
one is
abolish the
changing Mitch
filibuster.
McConnell's mind. But you can threaten Mitch McConnell. You can threaten his career, but he's leaving. Most likely, he's leaving.
Ending the filibuster.
What?
Ending the filibuster is what we have to do. We can't.
Okay, I don't disagree with that. I like Elizabeth Warren's idea of ending the filibuster, and Bernie Sanders has said he doesn't want to. Bernie Sanders has said he doesn't want to end the filibuster.
Right, and he has, but you know who's
So how would
Jay Inslee?
wait?
That's
Hold
just,
on,
that's
hold on. How would Elizabeth Warren end the filibuster without
How would
changing?
Elizabeth Warren end the filibuster?
Yeah, without changing Mitch McConnell's mind.
Without changing Mitch McConnell's mind, by taking which as
Wait, taking what?
What taking the Senate back, flipping the Senate, and I've said.
Wait, but do you know if the majority of senators want to end the filibuster? Senators love
they don't.
filibustering. That's the only weapon they have.
Correct. And so you can issue an executive. That's what I think it is, at least. That's what I mean. Obviously, it's going to be hard, but you know, it's not going to be. And yeah, a lot of senators are going to say that they want to preserve bipartisanship. But of course, you know, I think that there's a lot of folks, especially like I know folks like John Tester, who have said that they want to preserve bipartisanship, but they don't want to get rid. I think they can be persuaded.
The only tool that senators have in times of need is a filibuster. I don't think that they're going to give that up ever. I legitimately don't think they're going to give it up. I think that ending the filibuster
we might as well
is
give
a
up
more
passing policy.
What?
If we're not going to get rid of the filibuster, then we're screwed. We might as well.
I think there are ways. I think that realistically, I think when we look at this, using the procedures set in place to get anything done in the legislative sense is impossible. I don't think that we're going to do procedures. I think that we need someone who's not going to do procedures. I think we're going to need someone who's going to bully people from the bully pulpit, and someone who's going to be able to mobilize everyone and get his face plastered wall to wall in every media outlet about how these are the crooks, Mitch McConnell and the like, that are stopping you from having something that you voted for, something that you all voted for.
Mitch McConnell
and
organized. Is going to be called a crook by the media.
What?
Mitch McConnell's going to get called a crook by the media. You really
Mitch
think
McConnell
that?
gets called a bunch of stuff by the media. I'm saying that is more realistic. Threatening Mitch McConnell's position by changing the minds of his voters, by activating Democrats and other activists in that area is more significant in a much better way of potentially doing politics than changing Mitch McConnell's mind on anything. You're not going to be able to change his mind.
Yeah, well, I mean, I think I missed the last part of that. Repeat that one more time. I just want to make sure I got that.
I said you don't change Mitch McConnell's mind.
Right.
You make sure that it's poisonous to even think about reelecting him. And the only way you can do that is by changing the people's mind. And Mitch McConnell's not even fucking popular, if I'm not mistaken. So it doesn't even matter.
He's the most unpopular senator in the country. Yeah, I mean, if we're really going to talk about trying to a Democrat winning in Kentucky, sure, Andy Beshear did, but if it's Senate races are obviously, and you know this, Senate races are a completely different ballgame from governor's races, and they're a lot more polarized. They're a lot more partisan. And a state like Kentucky, you can't just activate Democrats and hope that that's going to work. You have to go out and run persuasion tactics on Republicans. Obviously, like that's not something that I don't even know whether that intersects with campaign finance. That's going to be a really big like there's
Yeah, but Bernie
and just
Sanders has openly stated, if I'm president, I'm going to go to Kentucky and organize against Mitch McConnell.
yeah, and how many? I mean, who's he
That's
going to
it.
get to show up against Mitch McConnell?
Whatever remainder of unions they have there will probably be very excited that we finally have a pro-labor candidate on the Democratic side. I'm certain of it.
Well, so that's the thing is
Like Mitch
I've been
McConnell is
looking at-
deeply unpopular. These people do
Yeah.
not like these people. Even Republicans
Well,
do
think
not
about
like
why
these
they don't
fucking
like him.
parasites that they've elevated to positions of power.
Think about why. Think about why. Right? It's not because they disagree ideologically with the fact that Mitch McConnell is a conservative, or not even a conservative at this point. He's a corporate welfare guy.
He's a
But
conservative. That is a conservative.
no, well, I think that conservatives are. There is a difference. I would like to think between corporate welfare and genuine conservatism. At least the
What?
conclusions, the lines that you draw in
Like
terms
what?
of being able to.
Okay,
Um,
this is the take that you just had that I disagree with probably the most.
Okay.
What is real conservatism? That's not even a thing.
No. I'm not. No. I'm not saying that real is different. What I'm saying is the thought process that goes into it is probably different. At least I imagine. I don't know. I've never thought about what it's like to be a conservative. I hope I never do. Because I've always been, I've always tried to avoid that viewpoint. But anyways, I'm digressing. I was what I'm trying to say here is I just don't think that it's gonna. I don't think it's gonna be enough to say that you could just. I just don't think that it's gonna be. I just don't think it's going to be enough to organize whatever unions there are left, right? I just don't think
no,
I
think
just don't
that-
think that's going to be enough.
I think that it is deep. I think that there's a lot of resentment towards Mitch McConnell, the least popular senator. So
Yeah, but I mean, why? Right? That's
what do you
I'm
mean
saying.
why? It's because Mitch McConnell doesn't give a fuck about Kentucky. Kentucky and
Right.
Kansas are literally, and Oklahoma too now, are like testing grounds for the Koch brothers to figure out how much
I'm
austerity
familiar.
is
I'm
enough before you literally kill,
familiar.
before you literally directly start killing poor Republicans. And that is precisely why Louisiana too. That is precisely why like even these poor Republicans aren't that fucking dumb where they hate their politicians, but they have no other options. We just need someone who can offer them an option. Someone who's not going to fucking be like a John Ossoff style candidate, which he wasn't in Kentucky, obviously. Instead of like a PMC neoliberal sellout who's like, yeah, we're gonna do Republicans but gay. You need someone who's actually like, no, I have your best interest at heart. I hate
Republicans,
corruption.
But what?
What?
Republicans, but what?
But gay. Like I just say
In
like
what
neoliberals on the Democratic side are just pro-gay Republicans.
Okay.
Does that make sense? Like I'm just
No,
using
I get what you're
it's like
trying
a
to say.
shorthand for saying
I get what
they're
you're
like
trying to say.
fake
Yeah.
woke.
Right. No,
Like
no,
they act like they
Okay.
care about LGBT issues and that's it. Like
right.
that's
Okay. Yeah, I get what you're trying to say.
so like that's not going to work. As a matter of fact, when it comes to identity, when it comes to issues of identity, one thing that I think we as Democrats fail significantly in the messaging is like we need to first organize and develop a sense of class solidarity. I am an intersectional feminist. Obviously, I believe in these things. This is all I've advocated for throughout my entire life, and I get threatened on the internet every day and fucking doxxed by Nazis for it. But in order to develop any sort of intersectional movement, you need to have class consciousness. You need to have class solidarity. You need to sell these Republicans something, anything that they can get on board with that will better their lives. And that doesn't start by by scolding them about being racist and being transphobic or whatever. That starts by being like, here, you want Medicare? Well, shut the fuck up. If you want Medicare, trans people are going to get Medicare too. So fuck you. It's better off than what these Republicans are offering you, which is nothing. Do you see what I'm saying?
No, I do. Yeah, I mean, I don't disagree. I just think that whatever happens, what I can say is, um, sorry, I forgot what I was trying to say. I lost my train of thought. Um, what I was gonna say is that, yeah, I what I can say, um, crap. Fuck.
This guy,
Um,
sorry, while you're thinking of what you're
yeah,
saying, I just gotta read this guy's messages. This random dude.
yeah, no,
Mitch McConnell's
I
great.
made,
I love Mitch McConnell. Unions will vote Republicans. Republicans love him. No conservatives care about worker and not corporations. Lol. Real liberalism and leftism isn't a thing. Every normal person is a conservative. Mitch
Hmm.
McConnell is extremely popular. Nobody likes Bernie
Right,
Sanders.
right, yeah.
Wait, this guy is about to be very shocked to find out that Mitch McConnell is literally the least popular senator in
He is the
the
least
Senate,
popular senator
and
in the
Bernie
country.
Sanders is the
What?
most popular senator.
Um,
My man said Hillary is right while
um,
also advocating for conservatism.
Yikes. Okay. Well, no. I don't disagree with anything you said. But I'm. I guess my one question is, I think what, right? I just don't think that. I just don't think that that's going to be. I mean, sure, Bernie might be more vocal about it, but I think that no matter what happens, any of the Democrats would be able to build the party up in that sense.
I think the best possible way to go forward for the Democratic Party, if they don't fully just cave to fascism in this country, and that is definitely coming, is to
Mhm.
go progressive. Republicans are getting increasingly more radical, and the Democrats are not fighting back enough. And I think Bernie
Yeah,
Sanders would be that Democrat who would fight back, and he would fight back pretty fucking hard.
mm,
That's why I'm excited to vote for him. I think that
sure.
that's what we need to re-energize the Democratic Party, to deliver, to give them the promise that Obama made 12 years ago, and not just
Yeah,
like, and
yeah,
not just fucking rip Donald Trump's State of the Union speeches and then go and have Juan Guaido talk right next to you the next fucking day. You might as well have just, pasted that speech back together. Like, it's so transparently pandering. It's so fucking frustrating. It's just they're
yeah.
like, it's theater. They just want, all they care about is maintaining their position of power. And that really frustrates me. So Bernie Sanders is the number one most popular. Mitch McConnell is one of the least popular, second least popular. Elizabeth Warren is the
Right.
ninth least popular in the Senate.
Yeah. Where, I mean, is that the morning consult number?
Yeah.
Okay. I mean, I've got my own issues with polling in general, but morning consult I try to avoid. Just because I don't know if they're I don't know how they've never been that great in terms of measuring things. Like they've got some really weird outliers. But that's beside the point. Shit. Man, I've been up since like 3 a.m. and now I have to do this.
No, no, don't worry about it. Hey,
Yeah.
man, if you want to go to sleep, it's all good. I don't want to keep you
No,
up.
no,
It's
I just
it's a
need to make
school
more
night
coffee.
tomorrow.
That's
It's
what,
a school night,
no,
right?
fuck that. Fuck that. Fuck school. Who cares about school? What's gonna
What? Dude,
happen at school?
I'm gonna tell
What?
your
No.
parents, dude.
Yeah, go for it. Who cares? Who cares about school?
All right.
What am I learning there? What am I learning there?
Okay,
Nothing.
well that's
I'm
not
learning
good.
nothing.
You're being a bad example to all the other Zoomers in my chat.
Someone tell Senator Harris to come here and arrest me. I don't care. I mean, look, what have I
Well, I
learned from
think your
school?
mom would
Nothing.
get arrested, not you, for truancy.
And that's probably the only reason that I would go is to avoid the fact that my parents are getting arrested. But I mean, I am 18,
I
so I imagine she'd
I
probably
guess
want to
it
arrest
works
me instead.
then. Her policy.
Yeah, I guess. Yeah, but although I am 18, so she'll probably want to arrest me. But I mean, if and this is something that I really think needs to be addressed is who fucking cares about school? What do we do when we get to school? And I think you said that most of the folks in your chat are high school students also. I imagine there's probably a couple of these people that are from my school. I'm willing to bet there's probably a couple because I know there's a few folks that are fans of yours that texted me and told me to what what I will say is, what are we learning in school? Nothing. Being in politics, being involved in politics, has taught me, I would say, to communicate better than an English class ever could have. Because in English class, what are we learning? We're learning about Romeo and fucking Juliet. No one cares. No one cares about Romeo and Juliet. Wherefore art thou Romeo is not going to fix broken healthcare costs,
Yeah, but
or
you
solve
say you don't
climate change.
even care about healthcare, so there's that.
Well, I mean, it is still an important issue, and you know, I'm not gonna get into why, but
Okay. Well, all
to
right.
me
Well, go to
personally,
bed. Go to bed.
no, I'm not gonna. No, but I do want to talk about this. This is something that I want to leave you with, and I'll leave you on this thought.
Okay.
Um, I learned how to communicate better than an English class could have taught me. I got to witness a front row seat to history being made in ways that, I mean, I've seen it over and over again. Um, and I don't have time to go into details for. I have learned how to help elect politicians that do generally believe in science, and you know, math. I mean, it just doesn't necessarily. It works for some people, but it doesn't work for me. And I don't. I mean, I don't care what people say. I mean, they're gonna say that I'm being a troll or whatever, but all I can say is fuck the public education system, fuck College Board, fuck AP classes, and fuck people who think that AP classes or your GPA actually matter, because they fucking don't. Being a good human being is what it's all about. And what do we learn in high school? We learn how to get into a good college. Nothing more and nothing less. And on that note, I'm going to go make some more coffee. It's been a fun discussion. Have a good night.
All right. Have a good one, man. Thanks for coming on.
Yeah, thanks. Have a good one.
All right.